Hello, trading has closed on the 14th of December 2022. We always do our disclaimer first. We go over our calls and make some predictions. This is my trading plan for tomorrow, Thursday, December 15th, 2022. Please remember, any trade you make is at your own risk, as I can be wrong. Look for the pattern with the early low, which is this. Tomorrow should have the early high. We had signals that were mixed. We got the least common thing. Neither one of these things happened. We said unless we gapped and promptly undercut the low of day, we should trade higher. Didn't mean we had a close higher. That worked. I also said I couldn't predict what happened on FOMC's days with any degree of accuracy, and that certainly worked. I said if we were going to drop, it should be immediate, and if we hadn't dropped by the time of the announcement, there was a risk in being short. I still think there was a risk, but it turns out there was also a reward, and the reward worked. But as we'll see, this isn't necessarily the last word on the subject. We had a buy signal early on that meant this move was false. Higher price would print. That worked. This rally was called false. System said ultimately we'd see lower prices, and that worked. Now it says this drop is false. We're going to retrace to 40.02, and if we don't gap down smartly, that'll be my call for tomorrow. We had this big drop. Not only couldn't we close over today's midday lows, we couldn't close under yesterday's midday low. So we've had nearly 2 days of declines after yesterday's big gap up, and 2 days of declines haven't managed a close under the initial drop. So far we've had backing and filling without making any real progress to taking us lower. And as far as I'm concerned, this rally went higher than I wanted to see it go if we were going to collapse from here. Let's remember, this is a wedge, a rising wedge. This rally can go all the way up to the apex, which is 41.65, and not kill the implications of the wedge, which would be to return to its point of origin. If you overtake this higher line, that's a different story. But it's not so unusual when you make a triangle like this, or a wedge like this, to go back up to the apex, and you just can't rule it out, even though it's a negative pattern. First move after the FOMC announcement was down. That typically tells you the next major move is down, but it doesn't tell you what happens tomorrow. And it doesn't mean you won't get the standard three-leg whipsaw first. Three-leg whipsaw says you're going to have 3 legs, each one further away from the announcement price, 40, 40, 90. So if we stop here, which we don't know yet, the next leg up should take us to at least 41.32. And 41.32 would be just under the apex and wouldn't change anything. So it doesn't have to happen, but you can't rule it out. Tomorrow's pattern has the early high. We could still gap down. Typically it's a rally day with a high in the final hour. Failure is a straight line drop. There's a higher MEJT target. Unless we gap down smartly, the rules call for it to print, and that target's a lot higher than we are now. First move after the announcement was down. This means the next meaningful move usually is lower. However, it's often preceded by a 3-leg whipsaw, with each leg further away from the announcement price than the last. If today's low holds, that implies a move of just over 41.32 for the second leg of the whipsaw. A move to just that level wouldn't invalidate the rising wedge pattern, but it would certainly delay the move lower. Today's drop couldn't manage a close under yesterday's low, so the decline has not changed the significance of yesterday's rally, which went over a meaningful trend line. So I don't know how we'll open tomorrow. We could even gap up smartly, because that's a stilt, that's a diamond. Nothing stops having a stilt leg up, even though the pattern doesn't have to go to completion. But this went higher than I thought it was going to go, and the drop so far hasn't done anything except back and fill. We have a higher target. I mean, if we gap under here, the whole idea is killed. But if we don't gap and undercut that low, I'm looking for higher prices tomorrow. And that's today's call.